So I'm going to talk a little bit in wrap-up about lean community building. I'm going to transition right at the end into trying to figure out what it is that we want to do next as a lean community. And I thought a great way to set that up would be to actually sort of go through a A3 process. So we've seen a few A3s. This is like an at this sort of level, it's an eye chart, just like a lot of the other ones we saw. So A3 about problem solving, and I hope none of my students are here to hear. Well, I got Brent in the back there, so he's gonna hear this. So I teach A3 to my students. I think it's a key lean tool. I want my students to graduate knowing how to solve problems. They might not know every little thing about how to do a CNC program or figure out some other things, but they ought to be able to problem solve, right? I think that's fundamental. So I teach them A3 problem solving, and I force them to do these things, right? We have their little, okay, here's a practice one, do an A3 on how you're going to get a summer job, and then do an A3 on how to make a banana smoothie or improve a banana smoothie process or whatever. So I go through and do that. The truth is, when I say, I say, okay, I should be doing A3s myself. I hate doing A3s. I like the end result. It's so satisfying when you're finishing with the A3s, but when you start, an A3, it's like, oh God, somehow in aggregate, it's so clear in my mind, and then when you have to actually put it through block by block and explain it, it becomes a struggle, right? So I've set off for myself a personal goal of trying to do more A3s and learn how to be an A3 expert. So even though I don't like to do it, I'm trying to do it. So I thought when I'm giving this presentation, well, why not, force myself to go through the A3 process. So I did this A3, and then I translated it into a slide set that simply goes through like each one of these sections and blows it up a little bit. So the first thing is the background, right? And the background is really about trying to figure out, okay, well why am I doing this? This whole lean community idea issue, what's that about, and how does that tie in to some sort of larger strategy or usually if you're doing an A3, you're trying to tie it into the company or the corporate strategy or the overall or some overall goals of the company. And for me, I really started thinking about it as really, I'm going to be here in the Central Coast. I plan to retire here. I plan to work here for another 10 or now maybe it's 20 years. As long as they're wheeling me into the classroom, I'll probably be here, and they're still writing me a paycheck, and there's still a few students that'll listen. So I'm going to be here a long time, and I want to make the place I live a better place to live and work, right? And this is a way to do it, and I think that's an interesting challenge. And maybe lean is the answer, maybe it isn't, but that's what I'm tying back into. And so I looked at what some of the current state or current conditions. Lane sort of alluded to this. The days of easy budgets, weak competition, plentiful resources are waning or they're gone, right? Nobody's saying, hey, here's more resources. I love the less is gone and more is coming back and all that sort of thing. And I was talking to Peggy, in the back, because we're always, sort of listen for those other speakers and, how they do sort of nifty sort of presentation things. And I told Peggy, I'm not going to do. I'd screw it up. I'd have to script it about 3 or 4 times, practice it in front of a mirror, but it's a good thing. So we're trying to do more with less. Lean thinking, of all the things out there that I've seen, it offers, a potential for doing what it is we need to do, I think, as a community and across multiple organizations. So I look at, what do we got going on in the Central Coast, right? And, we're not, from a county government standpoint, maybe not so much. I would say we've got, a few, what I call institutionalized lean, a few companies that have, are my senior lean companies. And I'm thinking of companies like Specialty Silicon Fabricators and Zodiac Aerospace and Zern Wilkins. These are people that, at some sort of corporate or other level, they've got a mandate and a commitment to go ahead and make lean work. So I can sort of leverage off of that. I've got other organizations around the county that are trying lean, right? Maybe they're doing some grassroots things. They're trying to, they have a Kaizen event, once in a while, but they got some of that stuff going on. There's a bunch of other companies that are considering lean, right? I've heard about lean and I want to check it out. Maybe, you're window shopping a little bit at this conference. So we've got that sort of thing going on. And then I've got this other group, this big sort of bar here, and these are the people that could benefit from lean. And I'm looking, I'm saying, from a Central Coast region, we got a huge opportunity to benefit, from lean. So I just want to do a little bit of polling, and we kind of didn't do like specific one-on-one introductions, but I want to do a little bit of polling and find out, so who's here, okay? So, where are you from?
Industry-wise?
Well, no, just tell me like what organization you work for.
Sure. So I actually work for Cal Poly State University.
In what department?
IT.
Cal Poly IT. Cal Poly IT. Cal Poly IT.
Allen Hancock College.
Allen Hancock College. GIT Manufacturing.
REC Solar.
REC Solar.
Helical Products.
Helical Products. REC Solar. Anybody different than REC? Consultant. Simpler.
Dignity Health.
Dignity Health. Rantec. Oh, you're Stephen Hughes is College of Business, right?
Olsen.
Ah, well, yeah. Zodiac. Okay, any non-Zodiacs? Ah. Planning student. Okay, City and Regional Planning. Channel Islands. County of San Luis Obispo, yeah. You are where it starts. Yes, next. County of Ventura. Ventura. SSF. Gimba Academy. Ah, yes. Brent's my student. Who we got? Transportation Commission, Reno, Nevada. All right, our distance travelers. REC.
Thank you for the nice weather.
Industrial Engineering. Cal Poly Admin and Finance. What do we got at the back table? Yeah, okay. What do we got in here? Zodiac Aerospace. McKinsey and Company. What we got here? Ventura County? Oh, yeah. Central Coast Roundtable Pizza, yeah. There we go. Anybody else? Was it?
Ventura County Fire.
Ventura County Fire. Ventura County, Ventura County. Cal Poly Corporation. You got to be friends with those folks. Yes? Zern Wilkins. Rantec. Rantec.
Moresteve.com.
Okay, Moresteve. Okay, so give yourselves a hand for showing up. Like I said at the start, you are the lean community. So some examples of what we're doing for lean community. Over the last 3 years, we did about 11 Kaizen events. These are just the ones that I've been involved with at Cal Poly. So we had 9 at Cal Poly. We've done 2 for the County of San Luis Obispo. This year we're in our 2nd summit. There's been a couple of AME workshops in the last couple of years. I don't know, sometimes we sort of throw these acronyms out, people don't know, but it's for the Association for Manufacturing Excellence. It's kind of the premier, or like one of the premier lean user groups across the country. And so they do a lot of workshops. We have, one of the reasons we're doing this now is because you can go to AME workshops as long as you're in Southern California or in the Midwest, right? They don't come here, right? So, so the circus doesn't stop here very often, so we're gonna do it ourselves a little bit. We had one SBC workshop, and the SBC workshop that we had this summer was an outgrowth of our Lean Leadership Forums. We've been doing those here like every other month for the last 3 years, and we're saying, okay, as opposed to just 2 hours, let's have a little bit of a longer format. So we did a whole day on statistical process control, and it was really valuable for the 13 people that we had sort of participating in that. Some of the resources we have on the Central Coast, we have lean emphasis in 3 programs. I talked about industrial technology, we had sort of graphic communications, and the industrial and manufacturing engineering. We've got Hancock College doing some things on lean. By the way, if you pick up some of Bob's flyers, if they're around. We've got some senior lean companies that we could leverage off of their experience. They seem to be willing to help. We've got some industry support organizations. I'd count in those as, we talked about ASQ, Association, American Society for Quality, right? We've got the AME, and we've got APICS, doing some things, so we could pull in some things from those. We've got some online partners like Gimba Academy and More Steam that we can leverage off to bring this stuff in remotely. And then we've got individual person and organization years of lean experience. This is priceless, right? This is the experience that's represented in this. And if we just share what we all know, we can all get a lot smarter. So that's what I think we've got for the current conditions. Resolves down to the department. How do we engage more organizations in lean thinking on the Central Coast? That's a little shot of one of the Kaizen events we're doing with the county. We were working on the facilities, the maintenance request process for the county. So our goal or target, these are things I just sort of threw up there. Personally trying to move forward, I like to see the number of organizations engaged in this kind of thing increased by 50%. So if we sort of went through and looked at the folks that are in the Central Coast here, as far as organizations, that's a certain number. Like, could we double that, right? Or could we, no, it wouldn't be double. So can we increase that by 50%, next year? Capture lean success stories. So one of the things that enables me to be able to do this sort of thing is if I tie this into my job. So as a professor, I've got to do teaching, service, and I also have to do research. And I would love to, capture some lean success stories, understand how it happens in IT, how it happens in manufacturing, how it happens in business, what are the enablers, what makes it work, what works, what doesn't. I can get a lot of leverage out of that. We can also get a lot of students engaged to help with teaching and whatnot. And I'd also like to increase the number of local lean engagement opportunities. So a summit is an engagement opportunity, workshops are an engagement opportunity, forums are an engagement opportunity. If we could double that, that would be a pretty cool goal, I think, sort of going forward. So analysis, summit breakdown, so that's sort of the Pareto chart of who we have represented. I went through and looked at the registration list, classified who was from what where. We had, so as far as the people that went to the Lean Basics workshop on Thursday, then rolled over here and without double counting, it was 80 people. Essentially, right? So that sort of breaks down 80 people. You can see huge representation for manufacturing, education, government, service. I'm kind of a little bit, so my analysis, we ought to be having some more healthcare, involved. That, like, when I go to lean conferences and people are talking there, you got a bunch of manufacturing people and then you've got a huge amount of healthcare people trying to figure out what's going on. And I'd like to see sort of more of that happening.
How many did you have last year?
We had, well, so last year, in counting speakers and whatnot, we probably had, well, there's some math involved in this. So last year we had, yeah. So I'm going to say that the number last year was 103. It was a one-day conference, and that included the speakers and the panels and things like that. But I had about 12 people on panels and whatnot to sort of buffer that sort of number up. I feel like this year was a stronger conference and we actually sort of did better. But yeah, so we're in that ballpark. Another part of the analysis piece of this, and the analysis isn't sort of real detail, but one of the things that I've sort of found in looking forward and how can we do this, there's a concept out there, and this is a researchy academic sort of thing, but essentially it's communities of practice. So when you see these things about user groups for, Google websites and Facebook-y kind of. So these can be people sharing their best practices back and forth, and that's the kind of thing that we could leverage from. So it tends to be groups or organizations of people that share a passion for something, right? Passion for something like lean, something they do, and they want to learn how to do it better, and they want to interact regularly. So that's sort of the going forward. How can we get that sort of thing happen? So my proposed countermeasure, Central Coast Lean. So I'm trying to put this together and make this happen. So this overall idea is we want to build a lean community of practice on the Central Coast between business, government, nonprofit, and education, right? So that's sort of the overall sort of goal. Some of the activities we're putting together, this Lean Leadership Forum, trying to get that going like every other month. Kaizen events as requested in 3 different types. I'm sort of thinking about the process Kaizen. So these are the big sort of flowcharty sort of things. We've done a lot of those. Want to do more problem Kaizens where we get a bunch of people together just to do the A3. Let's get in a room and pick a problem and let's try to hammer it out. And then also at the strategic level. Try to eliminate some of the problems, or not problems, but there is an issue of doing the drive-by Kaizen approach. We have that problem at Cal Poly. There are so many processes that are broken. You drive by, you can fix, on any given day, you can fix whatever you want. But I don't really know sometimes if it's really strategically important that we fix particular ones, right? And you've got limited resources, there ought to be some sort of hierarchy, and some of that strategy deployment thinking would go into that. Yeah. So workshops, as far as the Kaizen events, the other thing, and I don't sort of have this sort of the detailed backup, but I think there's, this comes with sharing the expertise and the richness of the people that are doing this. I've led a lot of Kaizen events. At Cal Poly, we've only had one person who's done a Kaizen event and then gone off to lead one on their own. But sort of growing that number of people, I want to see more people sort of doing that. I think there are people in industry that would love to come into Cal Poly and run a Kaizen event for us if we asked them to come in, if we asked them for that help, because they learn more by doing that kind of thing, and we learn from them and vice versa. Workshops, I want to hear like what kind of workshops do we need to have, and who can we get. The annual summit, I wasn't exactly sure whether I was going to do it again, but we've done it again and we'll do it again next year. And I'm also, one thing I'm involved in, I had some flyers, and I don't know if there's flyers on the table, but we're trying to build out what we call a lean course suite, and we'll work with companies like Steam to put together some online training, some in-class training at Cal Poly, eventually building up some more of those green belts and black belts to support this in the community. And this is just an example. It's an eye chart of what some of that build out might look like in the future. So here's some things you can look for in 2013, looking forward. Zodiac Aerospace has offered to do the next Lean Leadership Forum. That's going to be on the 21st of February. All you guys that gave me email addresses and your registration that I have, you'll be on the mailing list. You'll be invited to attend. Typically at a Lean Leadership Forum, as opposed to having the 80 or 100 that we have here, you're going to see like 20 folks at a Lean Leadership Forum. I'm trying to do something every other month. I think that's about the right level for the Central Coast at this point. People are ambitious. They want to do something every month. I don't know if I can handle it. And then all of a sudden, it's 10 people instead of 20 people attending each one of these. So we'll get another Lean Leadership Forum in April. In the summer, I've been talking to Teresa McMahon, who is the president of the Iowa Lean Consortium. So similar to the kind of thing that you heard about at Ventura County happening at the county level, in Iowa they're doing some really neat things at the state level. So Teresa has agreed to come out and talk to us. I'm going to try to set her up with a workshop, and then also have her talk to some key individuals around the county and whatnot to kind of get that going for us. Silicon specialty, specialty silicon fabricators agreed to do another forum. I got a question mark. We're still sort of up on the date on that. This was Dave Carson promised me that, just so you know. I'm taking commitments from anybody in any organization. It doesn't matter. I'll call your janitor next time and see if I can get something scheduled in there. They're empowered. That's the great thing about working with lean companies. I've got a workshop, so talking, and let's see, so we got the other summit. The next summit is scheduled to be out there at the 16th and the 17th. I want to go to this Legos thing. Neat thing I saw in the Chicago conference, there was actually Mickey Wilds at SureSeal was using Legos to do plant layouts and empowers people to figure out, where their equipment would go. And we got a real big problem with our labs as far as, making, the right locations happen. So I'm gonna, Mickey, I've talked to him, and he's agreed to come out and bring his starter kit of Legos to help us do things. We're talking about making that into a workshop, like maybe an AME workshop or something, that certainly will invite as many people as we can to make that happen. So those are the things I've got on the table. My question to you in finishing up here is, what else do we need to do in order to enable the lean community here on the Central Coast? So I'll just take a few ideas. We did this a little bit at the last lean conference. I can absolutely tell you that we did not do everything that was suggested. I don't know if we did 10% of the things that were suggested, but we did make progress, and there were some really good ideas that were thrown out. So what kind of other things can you offer or do you think would be good for lean on the Central Coast? Okay. So one of the rules of brainstorming here, I'm not going to be critical. I can tell you that I'm not going to do the blog, but I could probably provide space for doing a blog. So, what else? Yes.
We need to find ways to create a more favorable public opinion for this. Success stories or marketing lean manufacturing.
We have a Facebook. Or a LinkedIn community.
Okay. Some LinkedIn kind of. Oh man, it's been a long day. Could you write? Oh man, that's a nice thing about having lean folks in the audience there, and maybe a lean person that can spell. What else? What else can we do? What else can we do?
I think it's marketing more.
Yeah, that's the scribble on opinion there. See, that's what you get for being a professor. Yes, Pam.
I'm just wondering if perhaps engaging the foundation of the university with organizations like ours, there are quite a few leaders, a lot of leaders in the county. They might be a great resource.
Okay, so engaging the foundations at the universities, so that getting some of that leadership level, buy-in, I think would be great.
Eric, are you doing lean tours?
Lean tours, okay, lean tours. I've got some things going on for students, and but yeah, something that is a little bit more industry-facing than just the student-facing side of things would be good.
Building on that, if you could organize, potentially, you could organize the sorts of visits that we heard about in the presentation, where interested companies could go along and as a mass, hear a presentation from a company that's successfully implementing it.
Okay.
Benchmarking field trips.
So sort of a benchmark. So it's almost a super tour kind of thing, but.
So you give them the opportunity, therefore the company that's doing it doesn't have to do it 12 times, maybe they only do it once or twice.
Yeah, and I think, and that's one of the things I like about sort of the community concept is trying to leverage these events. So when we do Kaizen events at Cal Poly, and I would offer companies to do this too, we always invite, some outside set of eyes. So now that you're on my mailing list, we'll say, hey, we're doing a Kaizen event on, the scholarship, process at Cal Poly. Does anybody want to spend, a day with us, offering some insights that has some experience on, doing, doesn't even have to be similar, just needs to be something outside of Cal Poly. For God's sakes, please get us outside of Cal Poly with a process improvement. Anything else?
What about bringing guests? Or have, be allowed to bring a guest to an annual summit, like a business
Oh, okay, so some sort of thing is pricing the summit sort of thing, so you can sort of bring a guest, or even like these lean leadership forums. We'll have a, sort of a recruitment, bring a guest sort of deal. I like that idea. Other ideas? Yes.
Are you capturing everyone that's in the community? There may be missing parts of training or other universities that are doing something with lean that they're not being, that you still know about.
Yeah, and we try to provide visibility, but I don't know. There might be some great things being done at Wells Fargo or something that they're just not connected in. So, yeah. So we had the president of the is she a president or CEO? The Chamber of Commerce actually came to the event on yesterday. So we're connected into the chamber now. So I'm going to try to leverage that, but. Yeah, find other lean people to sort of connect in, and I'd appreciate people pointing us in the right direction. Or when I send out messages for invitations to events, forward these to people you think might be interested, because sometimes there are some closet lean folks out there, that need to be brought into the community. What else? What else? What other kind of things we need to do? Right.
It's better learn by doing, so you mix a group to go in with the company that wants to do some Kaizen event, mix them up, and so they're coming back and they're presenting them at a team forum or at the summit based on that Kaizen activity that they did as a group. So what you just made up of the St. Louis maintenance example, right? So it's great to cross-pollinate.
Right. So yeah, so some more mixing and some doing tours and things that we can sort of leverage off of. So, okay. I'll also sort of put out another pitch. We need a Central Coast Lean Advisory Board. So I'm going to be sort of hitting up some folks to actually sort of help me figure out what the heck I'm doing, which would be nice for a change. So, any other ideas?
I have one idea.
I don't know if you're allowed. Is that part of the rules?
We try to do this as well around the country. And do you have a way to make it easy for everyone here to talk to everyone here?
Okay.
I don't know if people are willing. We frequently ask, do you mind if we share your contact information with one another so that you can communicate with each other? Maybe you want to link together, or maybe you want to have some kind of a website space where you can share free sources or good sources, or in local government. It makes it easier for you to share what you know with other local governments.
Some sort of sharing and connection mechanism, right, in there.
User group.
Our user group. Okay.
You can do it like a LinkedIn private forum.
Yeah.
LinkedIn private forum, so it's, we don't have to reinvent the wheel on some of these things. So, okay, yes. Elaine?
Consider going beyond Central Coast,
No,
Western region.
I'm not closed-minded.
Yeah, well, the
Yeah.
reason I'm asking is because, we work also with one of our partners, Southern California Gas Company.
Right.
And then Baxter and Amgen and, some of these big industries, and we just don't have an organizing way to, and actually some people from Kitsap, Washington was very interested, but
Right.
timing just wasn't right, but I wonder if there's.
Yeah, no, I think we're open to it. I think it's the same sort of issue of like identifying who's interested and who would drive. When I talk to Teresa McMahon and the Iowa Lean Consortium, you know, so one of their big concerns is, how do we get the northwest corner involved, right? Because I don't know about Iowa. I imagine it's kind of flat, but they have the sort of industrial sort of belt, and then they've got some folks off in here that the drive isn't sort of worth it. So there does seem to be some sort of physical limitations for people to be able to sort of get together, right? Yeah, geography plays a part. And for my passion is around seeing people's faces at least once in a while. You can have an online component, but I don't want to be an online community. I want to be let's press the flesh and see each other eye to eye once in a while.
I know when Teresa did the National Green Governance Exchange,
Yeah.
she had about 400 people. So
Wow.
they came.
Yeah.
You even have a danger there, you have a risk of it being too big.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah,
what
but
it is.
you break out, see, one of the things that from government and one healthcare person here, well, anyway, Lola, you're in charge of
Yeah.
people attending. I think if my people knew that was the makeup of the group, they wouldn't come.
Right.
So what would be helpful is to, this translation issue is a real serious, big one,
Right.
To sit here and listen about changeover of machinery when you're a DA is just not going to draw your interest.
Right. Right. So getting those and I think so the idea is if we can get big enough, group where specific themes are addressed, people will come because they know the value. They're not going to talk about this. They're going to be talking to their particular problem and issue set.
So you already
Yeah.
have that, you potentially have that with having that speaker come in at the next summit. You could turn that into something
Right.
quite.
Right. That'll have a real government sort of focus to it when we have Teresa come in. So, other ideas? Okay. One more.
Is, I mentioned this to somebody I was eating lunch with, is we're a little bit preaching to the choir because we're all practitioners and we're seeing tools and it's reinforcing all like that. For me and my world, I would love to see the leadership get involved in some way and I like that you're doing some leadership forums, but I wonder if that's one way to grow your lean community is to expand on the focus on the champions.
Okay. Expand focus on champions in the leadership
It's the buy-in and all of that.
and get the buy-in.
Would you be able to talk to the leadership at Cal Poly?
I am and I do. There's that whole. Anybody know like how communication works? There's like this one-way thing and there's this two-way thing. Anyway, we're gonna be sort of trying that. We've got some new leadership at Cal Poly. We'll get there. There's a combination too. I think, and everybody in Lean knows this. There's the talking and then there's also the demonstrating. So there's some sort of balance there that we need to try. I'm not going to wait for leadership, but boy, it's nice to have them on board. Okay. All right. With that, I want to thank you all sincerely for coming to the Lean Summit.